Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm talking about the most overrated comic books I've read so far. A lot of these comic book series are some of the most beloved series, most highly recommended series that I've encountered, and all of these are overrated in my opinion. The first one we're going to talk about today is Kraven's Last Hunt. This is a 6-issue miniseries that spans from like the Web of Spider-Man through the Amazing Spider-Man series. It follows the villain, Kraven the Hunter, and then this other villain who really kind of takes center stage, Vermin. This book is widely accepted as the best Spider-Man story of all time. After reading this book, I completely disagree. In my opinion, and this is, go ahead and get triggered now, Spider-Man as a character is overrated. If you're a 12-year-old kid reading Spider-Man comics, yeah, I get it. But as an adult man who has gotten into the hobby, just within the past few years, this is not a character that appeals to me as much as so many of the others. I've loved Spider-Man since I was a kid. I've watched all of the movies. But this story is supposed to have been the cream of the crop. In this story, this is a more adult take on the hero. Spider-Man is in the black suit. He's fighting this character Vermin like down in these sewers. He's kind of like a depressed, sad character, woe is me type. You've got some incredible art in this story, specifically in the later issues when Spider-Man is in this coffin and he's like dead and he's like in this alternate world and like the whole background is like black. Some incredible art in this story, but unfortunately the art, in my opinion, cannot save this. I mean, as opposed to some of the other comics I've read, yeah, this is still very good. But if this is the best Spider-Man story, then I don't think I'm a Spider-Man fan. The problem with these stories is that the stakes are still so low. Spider-Man's not going to die. But there is a huge ending to this, which is probably one of the more memorable endings in comic book history. And Spider-Man is very famous for, being able to be defeated, and I think maybe the first superhero to ever lose a fight. So it is definitely memorable for that, but this book is overrated. The next one is Green Lantern, Jeff Johns' The Blackest Night miniseries crossover. So right off the bat, before I get into this, crossover events are usually, if never good, if ever good. The most famous crossover events are, like Secret Wars, Infinity Gauntlet, things like that. And the DC version of that is Crisis on Infinite Earth. So in this story, we have all of these like black rings. So Jeff Johns establishes the crap out of all these other colored rings like orange and yellow and blue and violet and the sapphires and all these different characters. So the trouble with this story is that you're relying so heavily on Green Lantern and Flash. And as you can see, there's like these black rings. They take over all these dead heroes and they come back, start kicking ass and tearing stuff up. And the problem is like Superman gets defeated like super easily. Batman's dead. And really, this is kind of like the Green Lantern Flash show. And then we get like a whole lot of like Aquaman and Mira and stuff. And it really kind of, I mean, if you're a longtime superhero fan or reader, I mean, they're basically just having to make some compromises to put these characters in the position to fight the big bad. Now, art-wise, this is incredible, specifically the coloring. I mean, as you can see, it looks like these pages are freaking glowing. Like the art saves this for sure. The next one is Batman Hush. This is Jim Lee and Loeb's masterpiece. I completely disagree. This is one of those stories that after you've read it once and you kind of figure out and you know the secret of who Hush is, it loses so much. So this story is widely accepted as one of the best Batman stories. And if you look at this panel right here specifically, at first when I looked at that, I couldn't even see where Batman was. This book suffers in the art, I think, more so than the story. You know, Jim Lee is one of the most famous artists of all time, specifically those big 90s artists, you know, with him, Liefeld, and McFarlane. But some of these panels are so busy that you can't even tell what the hell's going on half the time. Like, you're just begging for, like, that panel right there, where it's just some sort of different art style, because when you're reading this, it's just exhausting. Now, it's action-packed, and it's definitely got a mystery, and it feels like there are some stakes here, specifically with new characters being introduced that could potentially die. At this point in my comic book collecting and reading career, if I don't have some like serious stakes, you know, I just don't care. And superheroes, unfortunately, unless it's the deconstruction of the hero, which I am definitely an Alan Moore fan, you know, I'm not necessarily as interested. Like, these stories feel so much meant for children or adolescents, where, you know, that violence and that, you know, boom pow and the hero or the villain gets away at the last second, like that is what I think that's the target audience. And this Batman Hush, like, it just feels like that. The art is too busy. The story is not memorable. Honestly, I don't even remember what the hell happened. I just remember there was Poison Ivy, and she kind of seduced Batman and Superman, and they fight, very reminiscent of Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. It just is not that good. The next one is the trilogy, the Fantastic Four, Silver Surfer, Galactus trilogy. And man, going to this book after looking at those other more modern stories, you know, this is Jack Kirby, hardcore Jack Kirby. Like, I mean, you got every face looks like the same person. You know, even Silver Surfer's face looks like Reed Richards' face. This is supposed to have been one of the best stories from Fantastic Four and some of the best stories from the Marvel Silver Age. And I'm reading this and I'm like, God, when is it going to be over? Like, as you can see, you know, Silver Age books are hard to read, specifically for a modern audience. And especially if you didn't grow up reading this. Like, everything is so descriptive. Like, there's so much exposition. The characters telling you what they're thinking or what they're doing in the words, instead of just letting the panels speak for themselves. And Silver Surfer and all these collectors who love Silver Surfer, like, I don't know, like, Silver Surfer is the most depressed hero or villain or whatever of all time. I mean, it's just like all it is just woe is me the whole time. Oh, I'm Norrin Rad. I miss my Shala Ball. I miss going home. You know, it sucks being the Herald. Dude, you got crazy powers from Galactus. Just go do his bidding. You know, he needs to eat some worlds. You're super freaking powerful. Just quit complaining all the time. So, you know, Silver Surfer he's a very cool character from like a power perspective. He looks freaking cool. And just these old comics, I love collecting them. But as far as reading these old stories, yeah, I'm good. Give me a modern story over one of these Silver Age stories any day of the week. And last but not least, we have, this is some footage from one of my older videos. This is Spawn. Todd McFarlane's Spawn. Premium 90s content here. I made a video specifically talking about how overrated Spawn is. And holy crap, that video is very divisive. I mean, there are people that completely agree with me and could not disagree more. And one of the biggest arguments for Spawn is that it is a period piece. It is of its time period. It was revolutionary. And, you know, I can understand that. And the art is definitely cool. Like it's edgy. There's a lot going on. The panels are so cool. Like, you know, it's all that black in the background. But right off the bat here, you see Todd using those, you know, those news correspondents, the talking heads, as a narrative, which is a ripoff of The Dark Knight Returns. Then a large part of the story in the beginning, Spawn's always worrying about this clock. There's like this ticking clock. Well, it takes, I don't know how long it freaking takes to get to the part of the story that we talk about that damn clock. And then Spawn, as far as a character, I mean, he's just, you know, a mile wide and an inch deep. There's just nothing there. And talk about busy panels. You know, Jim Lee, you think those panels are busy. Half the time, a lot of these panels, there's chains flying everywhere, the cape's going everywhere. I mean, you don't even know what the hell's going on in a lot of these panels. At least I don't. By the time I've read some of this, I'm like exhausted. I'm just like, I don't want to read this anymore. And talk about pages and pages and issues of nothing freaking happening. Like, that is Spawn, where it's just all style, no substance. And it really isn't indicative of this when he starts letting guest writers come on here, specifically Alan Moore. I can't remember which one Alan Moore writes. I think it's coming up here in a minute. But man, Todd just gets absolutely destroyed on his own book by another writer. I think it's number 8. Like, number 8 here is the best issue of these beginning issues, and it's not even close. Guys, these are the most overrated stories in comic books for me. What do you guys think? If at any point in time you like this video, give the thumbs up. And if you like this video, subscribe for more. Take care.